Bloodshot. I mean, look at the poster. It says everything you need to know about the film, pretty much. This time around, the tough guy in a sleeveless shirt that Vin Diesel plays is called Garrison, and he's a former soldier who, in the extended prologue of the film, we see getting killed right after his wife is murdered in front of his eyes. He then wakes up on a hospital bed in some sort of tech company and learns that after his body was donated by the army, he became the first successful experiment at basically resurrecting someone. And not just that, he's been enhanced. His bloodstream now consists of millions of tiny nanobots, which increase his strength and durability, allow him to do stuff like connect to the internet with his mind, and crucially repair any damage that he sustains, making him almost indestructible. Soon after waking up, though, his memories start flowing back, and so he goes rogue to avenge his wife's murder. Now, going into the film, I expected a mindless action movie, and that's pretty much what I got. Despite a potentially interesting premise which could have allowed the filmmakers to explore the post human cyberpunk implications of the technology, we don't really go that way. What is also surprising in a disappointing way is how little action there actually is in the action movie. I think the whole film basically consists of three extended sequences, but in between them, there's a lot of time when not much happens. Characters talk, there's exposition and stuff, but because this aspect is so underdeveloped and uninteresting, it does get fairly boring at certain moments. Another problem is that even when the action does get going, it's not particularly great to watch. There are two types of sequences basically: the more grounded ones with hand to hand combat, and the ones more reliant on the superpowers and the CGI. The first kind suffers from death by a thousand cuts. The editing is poor, and we never really get a longer take that would allow us to just see and enjoy the fight choreography. It's just cut, cut, cut. And the second kind of scenes, the CG ones, have a different problem, which is that the CG looks awful. Honestly, some scenes look like taken from a PlayStation game from 10 years ago. It looks cheap and not particularly real, which took me out of the film a lot. Also, when you have your protagonist be virtually indestructible, it's kind of difficult to make the audience care. Like, so what if people shoot at him or he falls from a building? We know he'll regenerate, so there's no suspense, no stake in the game. Going back to the visual side for a moment, I mentioned editing and CGI, but in fact the entire film looks rather bland. I think it's a mix of color grading and filters used on the cameras, I guess, but a large part of the film looks just plain bad. It's just like slightly out of focus, and with the colors being all off. I mean, I'm not a professional photographer, I can't tell you in technical terms what went wrong, but the result is that it's just tiring to look at. The final point that I wanted to make was that the humor partly worked for me. There are two moments essentially which break the fourth wall, and I enjoyed them, especially as they do poke fun at how generic the movie is. But even if you point it out, that still doesn't absolve you from being a generic film, and that's what Bloodshot ended up being: bland, unoriginal, and forgettable.